Listen to me very carefully now, because what I'm about to tell you can save you months, maybe even years, of confusion, fear, and emotional exhaustion. The most dangerous thing happening in your relationship right now isn't happening during your meetings or phone calls. It's happening in those text messages you keep rereading, trying to figure out what he really means. I've spent over a decade studying how men communicate, and there are 7 specific phrases that, when a man texts them to you, reveal his true intentions so clearly that ignoring them is like ignoring smoke pouring out from under your bedroom door. These messages aren't just concerning, they're manipulation tactics disguised as harmless everyday communication. And once you understand what they really mean, you'll never be able to unsee it. Make sure you stay until the end, because the 7th phrase is so common, so normalized, that most women even feel relieved when they get it, although, in truth, it's the most destructive pattern of all. And most likely, that very message is sitting on your phone right now. Before we get to those 7 patterns, you need to understand something that will forever change the way you read every message from a man. Most women have been conditioned to give men the benefit of the doubt, to interpret their words as positively as possible, to fill the gaps with hope instead of reality. This conditioning runs so deep that we've completely forgotten how to recognize what's actually being communicated, as opposed to what we desperately want to believe is being communicated. The truth that almost no one wants to say out loud is this: text messages give people a level of control over your emotions that a face-to-face conversation never could. Think about it. When someone texts you, he can take his time to craft exactly what he wants to say. He can disappear for hours or days, leaving you in uncertainty. He can write things that sound caring while actually doing the opposite. And most of all, he can keep you emotionally attached while staying distant. That's exactly why you feel anxious, exhausted, or obsessive after certain text conversations, even when you can't quite explain why. Your intuition senses something your mind is trying to rationalize, because we've been taught that analyzing messages makes us look crazy or insecure. But what I'm explaining to you now has nothing to do with paranoia. It's about understanding the energetic reality behind the words on your screen. Here's the crucial point. The man you're texting with doesn't just influence your mood for an hour. He literally shapes your self-worth, your ability to focus on goals, your sleep, your anxiety levels, and your overall sense of safety in the relationship. If you ignore these warning signs, you'll spend the next year of your life in a state of emotional confusion, constantly trying to decode mixed signals and wondering why you feel so unstable. But if you learn to recognize and release them right away, you create space for someone who communicates with clarity, intention, and genuine care. The first texting pattern that should make you pause and rethink the entire situation is when a man texts you whatever you want, or variations like, "I don't care, you decide," or "as you wish," especially when you've asked him a direct question about your plans, your relationship, or something meaningful. I know what you're thinking. That sounds like he's easygoing and accommodating, right? Wrong. That message is emotional absence disguised as flexibility. What's really happening here? He's not being flexible. He's refusing to be an active participant in your relationship. He's showing you that he doesn't want to take responsibility for decisions or for the relationship itself. When someone you ask what he wants repeatedly responds with indifference, he's telling you something essential. There's nothing he cares about enough to have an opinion on, including you. A man who truly cares about you wants to engage with you. He has preferences, desires, ideas. He wants to create shared experiences, and he has the courage to say what matters to him. But if he constantly leaves everything up to you and replies with distant phrases, he's basically saying his emotional investment is so low that nothing feels worth having an opinion about. That's how relationships die, not through big dramatic fights, but because one person slowly withdraws while pretending to still be there. The third texting pattern, and this one is truly deadly, is when he writes, "I'm sorry you feel that way," or "sorry if I hurt you." Any apology that contains the word "if" or focuses on your feelings instead of his behavior. That's not an apology. That's blame shifting wrapped in the packaging of an apology. It's designed to make you believe that you're the problem because you're hurt, not him because he hurt you. Let me explain what's happening here. A real apology names a specific behavior, takes responsibility, and expresses genuine remorse. It sounds like this. I'm sorry I didn't reply to you for 2 days. That was inconsiderate, and you deserve better. Or, I'm sorry I cancelled our date at the last minute. I understand why that hurt you, and I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. Do you notice the difference? Such apologies identify the action, acknowledge its impact, and show understanding. But when a man sends you those vague, conditional non-apologies, it's not accidental, it's calculated. He's showing you only the illusion of accountability while actually taking none. The phrase, "I'm sorry you feel that way," is especially insidious because it shifts the entire problem onto your perception, not his behavior. What he's really saying is, your feelings are the problem, not what I did. This creates a psychological trap where you start doubting yourself. Am I too sensitive? Am I overreacting? Do I even have a right to be hurt? And in the end, you end up apologizing to him for being hurt. Exactly what this manipulation is designed to achieve. I've observed this pattern in countless relationships. Women gradually lose touch with their own sense of reality. Every time they bring up a legitimate concern, he responds with these fake apologies that sound right at first, but leave them more confused than before. Over time, they start to believe they're the problem, that they're too emotional, that they need to be more understanding. And meanwhile, he just keeps doing what he's always done because he never truly acknowledged that his behavior was wrong. What you need to understand, a man who truly loves you wants to take responsibility. When he hurts you, even unintentionally, he doesn't want you to carry the pain he caused. When you tell him that something hurt you, his instinct is to understand it, acknowledge it, and make sure it doesn't happen again. Men who send these evasive non-apologies are showing you that protecting their ego is more important to them than protecting your heart. The worst part of this pattern is that it shifts all the emotional labor of the relationship onto you. You make all the decisions, all the plans, do all the thinking, while he just goes along for the ride and still enjoys all the benefits of having you in his life. And here lies the trap. When things don't go well, he blames you. After all, you were the one making all the decisions. Women who experience this pattern find themselves completely drained after a few months, wondering why they feel as if they're in a relationship all alone. The answer is, they are. The second texting pattern that should set off every alarm bell in you is when a man writes K, okay, or cool, especially after you've shared something vulnerable, personal, or important, or after you've brought up a topic about the relationship. That's not a short reply, it's rejection in its most concentrated form. When someone reduces your emotionally open message to a single letter, they're telling you, what you're saying doesn't deserve my attention, my consideration, or my empathy. Real connection requires mutual energy. When you share something meaningful, the other person responds with interest, with questions, with genuine engagement, something that shows they actually registered what you said. But when a man reacts to your openness with these short, indifferent replies, he's showing you that he's either emotionally incapable of meeting you or that you simply aren't worth the effort. And both lead to the same result. This is not someone who can give you what you need. I've seen this pattern completely drain women of the desire to stay open in relationships. Every time they try to have a real conversation, he responds with those cold, abbreviated messages. And eventually, they stop. They stop opening up. They stop saying what they need, because they've learned that their thoughts and feelings are too much. That's exactly what emotionally unavailable men want. They want you to ask for less. They want you to shrink your needs until there's nothing left, so they can keep taking everything from you while giving you absolutely nothing in return. What makes it especially cruel is that these same men suddenly write full paragraphs when they want something from you, when they're trying to convince you to come over, when they're explaining why they didn't text back, when they're justifying their behavior. Suddenly, They have plenty of words. That shows you. The brevity isn't about their style or about being busy. It's about what they consider worth their energy. And apparently that's not you. Here's how the game works. He disappears for 3 days, doesn't start real conversations, makes no plans to see you, gives you just a few emotional crumbs. And right at the moment when you start to pull back, when you begin to doubt whether any of it even makes sense, he sends a perfectly timed message that makes your heart skip a beat for a second. Suddenly, you feel seen, wanted, maybe even guilty for doubting him. And just like that, he's pulled you back in without changing a single thing about his behavior. This texting pattern is manipulation in its purest form because it costs him nothing. He doesn't have to show up, make time, or keep any commitments. All he has to do is type 3 words. And you reset your expectations to 0. You accept more days of inconsistency just because he threw you that tiny scrap of validation. And trust me, he knows exactly what he's doing. The saddest part is that many women hold on to these messages as proof that he really cares. They take screenshots, reread them over and over, use them as justification that the relationship is real, that his feelings are genuine. But you need to understand one thing. Words without actions are not love. They're placeholders. They're meant to keep you on hold, while he figures out if there's something better out there, keeping all his options open while enjoying all the emotional benefits of your closeness without giving any real commitment or consistency. A man who truly misses you doesn't just text you in the middle of the night, he makes plans to see you. A man who truly thinks about you follows up a message with a call, a video chat, a real sign of initiative. When someone expresses their emotions only in convenient, low-effort digital forms, those aren't emotions, they're manipulations. The 6th type of text that tells you everything about his character is when he writes, "I told you I'm busy," or "You know I have a lot going on," or any variation that uses his schedule as a weapon against your completely reasonable expectation of communication. This message is meant to make you feel guilty for wanting something totally normal, regular, reliable contact, one of the most basic needs in any relationship. What does that really mean? Everyone is busy. Everyone has obligations, everyone has stress. But people make time for what's important to them. Period. When a man repeatedly uses being busy as an excuse for lack of communication, for cancelled plans, for days of silence, he's not telling you he has no time. He's telling you you're not a priority. He's showing you that everything else in his life comes first. And he wants you to accept that as normal. The 4th text message, and this one drives me crazy every time, is when a man writes, "You're overthinking," or "You're reading too much into it," or "It's not that deep," especially when you bring up something that hurt you or ask for clarity about your relationship. This message is gaslighting in its purest, most toxic form. It's designed to make you doubt your own perception. When a man dismisses your concerns by telling you that you're overthinking, he's not offering helpful perspectives. He's systematically erasing your trust in your own feelings. He's training you not to trust your intuition. He's teaching you that your gut feeling, your sense of patterns, your ability to recognize what's really happening are all supposedly weaknesses you should suppress. That's exactly how women stay in situations that are clearly wrong for them because they've been convinced it's crazy to see the truth. What's really happening here? When you bring up something real, something concrete, and he tells you that you're overthinking it, that's gaslighting, because acknowledging the truth would mean he'd either have to change his behavior or admit his intentions. And he doesn't want to do either. It's much easier for him to make you doubt yourself than to be honest. So he takes your justified observations and twists them until you end up looking like the paranoid, the insecure, or the over-analytical one. The consequences of this pattern are devastating. Women who receive such messages over and over gradually lose trust in their own judgment. They start questioning everything they see. They excuse suspicious behavior. They ignore red flags because they've been made to believe that their perception is the problem. They start praising themselves for being chill and low maintenance and for not overthinking, when in truth, they've only learned to betray their inner knowing. What's especially painful is that these men later portray your overthinking as the real problem in the relationship, not their questionable behavior, not their unreliability, not their contradictions, but your reaction to them. It flips the entire dynamic. Instead of him taking responsibility for his actions, you have to justify yourself for responding normally. You end up trapped in a cycle where you keep trying to prove that your concerns are valid, while he never has to prove that his behavior is acceptable. The fifth text pattern you should run, not walk, from, is when he messages you, "I miss you," "I'm thinking of you," or "wish you were here." The key point, these messages always come late at night, when he wants something, or after he hasn't reached out for days. These aren't genuine expressions of emotion. They're strategically placed emotional triggers meant to keep you hooked without him having to invest anything. These texts are so toxic because they reverse responsibility. Instead of him having to explain why he disappeared for days, suddenly you're the one who feels guilty for expecting too much. He makes you believe you're needy just because you want something completely normal, consistency and reliability. You start apologizing for your needs. You feel guilty for wanting his time and attention, while he gets exactly what he wants without ever being held accountable. I've seen women completely rebuild their expectations around these excuses. They start believing it's too much to ask to hear from their partner daily, that it's demanding to expect kept plans, that it's selfish to want to be a priority. They convince themselves they should be grateful for the few crumbs of attention he gives because he's so busy. But the truth is, if someone wants you in their life, they find ways to include you, not excuses to exclude you. This texting pattern shows a fundamental lack of respect for your time and emotional needs. He's saying his comfort matters more than your sense of security in the relationship. His schedule is more important than your peace of mind. And every time you accept that excuse, every time you tell yourself you're being understanding for lowering your standards, you teach him that he's allowed to treat you as an option. And now we come to the seventh and most dangerous text pattern, the one that's become so normalized in modern dating that women actually smile when they get it, even though they should recognize it as the massive red flag it is. It sounds like, "Let's just see where this goes," or "Let's take it slow," or "I'm just going with the flow." Any phrasing that deliberately avoids defining the relationship or naming any direction or future. Now that you know these 7 texting patterns and understand their real meaning, you might look at your phone and see old messages differently, with a mix of recognition, anger, sadness, or maybe relief. Maybe you realize your confusion was never about bad communication, but about receiving manipulative communication and desperately trying to make sense of it. All of these realizations matter, and I want you to allow yourself to feel whatever is coming up right now. But there's one thing you must truly understand. This information isn't meant to make you paranoid, not suspicious of every message you get or every man you meet. It's about learning to recognize the difference between someone genuinely invested in you and someone keeping you around for his own convenience. It's about spotting patterns, not isolated texts. It's about realizing that your intuition was right all along. Those nagging feelings of uncertainty don't mean you're insecure. They're your inner wisdom trying to protect you. The truth is, there are men who would never send you such messages because they understand that real affection is shown through clear and consistent communication. There are men who say what they mean and mean what they say. Men who keep their word, who don't confuse you but make you feel safe. Men who choose you intentionally and prove it through their actions, not just words. Such men exist, but you won't be available for them as long as you're spending your emotional energy decoding the mixed messages of someone who deliberately stays vague. What I want you to do, pay attention to how you feel after reading a message from a man. Do you feel calm and safe, or anxious and unsure? Are you constantly trying to interpret meaning, or is the meaning clear? Are you making excuses for his lack of communication, or does the interaction feel natural and easy? Your body stores truth and your emotional state doesn't lie. Start trusting your first reactions instead of talking yourself out of them. If something in his messaging feels wrong, it probably is. If you're constantly confused about where you stand with him, that confusion is already the answer. It shows he's intentionally keeping things unclear. If you notice you're lowering your standards or accepting less than you deserve, that's information about the dynamic you're co-creating. Most importantly, understand that it's not a sign of coldness, hardness, or giving up when you walk away from someone whose messages show he doesn't truly value you. It's self-respect. It's the moment you create space for real love to enter your life. Every moment you spend decoding the mixed signals of someone who won't communicate clearly is a moment you're unavailable for someone who never would keep you guessing. The right person for you won't make you feel like a detective searching for hidden meanings in every text. He won't leave you wondering where you stand, what he wants, or whether you matter to him. He'll show you through clear, honest, consistent communication that doesn't just come when it's convenient, but because it matters to him that you feel safe. Your job isn't to become so understanding, so patient, and so forgiving that you accept breadcrumbs and call it a meal. Your job isn't to teach someone how to communicate with respect and care. Your job is to know clearly what you need, trust your perceptions, and have the courage to leave situations that require you to betray yourself. The love you seek is also seeking you, but it can only find you once you stop settling for confusion. It recognizes you only when you honor your own worth, not when you bend yourself to accept less than you deserve. So remember, the next time a man texts you one of these 7 phrases, this conversation, see clearly and recognize what it really means.